Okay, is she still inside?
Yes, she is. And she's with an older man.
With an older man?
Yeah, and the thing that really triggered me the most was I was reading the nickel roof, and I seen her picture of the nickel roof, and I showed it to one of the waitresses here, and she said, "Oh my God, she's in here."
The video you just watched captured the chilling climax of a case that still haunts the darkest corners of Idaho's history. On that ominous night of May 16, 2005, 9-year-old Dylan and his 8-year-old sister, Shasta, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a scene of horror, blood, corpses, and a mystery that would leave investigators scratching their heads for months and unable to sleep for years.
I go home and have nightmares about.
But what truly unfolded on that dreadful night? Did the children manage to escape the looming threat, or did they fall victim to something even more sinister? On May 17, 2005, a concerned resident of Lake Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, reported a suspicious white van parked near his home to 911. Initially, the van's contents, an axe and toolbox, didn't raise significant concern. However, a few hours later, the resident made another call to authorities, revealing a disturbing scene that continues to haunt many to this day.
Okay, you need to talk to a deputy about the vehicle for what reason?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, what's going on with the vehicle?
Well, the vehicle, I can't explain it to you. You just have the guy call me quickly.
Well, they need to know what's going on.
The vehicle, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle that I can see, but the vehicle belongs to a guy who is friends with the people that live in this junky house out here, and I went to the door to pay the little kid $10 for mowing the lawn, and there's blood all over the door. Nobody comes to the door. They are friends of the guy who owns this pickup, I find out.
Okay. Okay, let me have a deputy give you a call back at that 661 number then, okay?
Yeah, right away.
All right.
Officers, shocked and sickened, arrived at the house to discover a gruesome scene: blood-covered walls and the bodies of a man, a woman, and a 13-year-old boy. The crime scene was already horrific, but it took a darker turn when they realized 9-year-old Dylan and 8-year-old Shasta were missing.
We have a homicide scene with one adult male, one adult female, and one juvenile male. Our main concern right now are the 2 children we cannot find.
Initially viewed as a miracle sparing them from the horrors at the house, the absence of the kids took a sinister turn. Over time, officers realized their fate would be far worse than anyone could have imagined.
You begin to think about who could have been so angry at this family to want to inflict such injury on these people.
But what really happened in the Groween house, and, more importantly, what happened to the 2 kids? Well, it all began on the night of May 16, 2005, just a few hours before their neighbor would come across the unholy sight that set forth the investigation. Dylan and his sister, Shasta, had been in bed asleep when suddenly their mom would rush to wake them up and tell them, "Someone is in the house." Things only got worse as confusion turned to terror as Brenda led her children into the living room, only to be confronted by a man wielding a shotgun and hammer. The family, consisting of their mom, Brenda Growin, her boyfriend Mark McKenzie, and their elder brother, 13 years old Shane Grown, were bound and beaten while the children, paralyzed with fear, watched in horror. Separated from the chaos, the man left the kids under a tree as he continued his rampage. Moments later, Shane attempted to flee but was brutally attacked again and left to die in the yard. Following this, the man would grab the kids and drive off. After the abduction, the entire state went into chaos as authorities and citizens desperately searched for the missing kids. However, the situation took a darker turn when the children's father appeared on live television to make a startling announcement. Despite being somewhat absent from their lives since their parents' divorce when Shasta was just 2 years old, to many, he was an upstanding guy and had even previously fought for custody of the kids. However, his public appearance would change after he made the announcement.
I'd like to address my children's abductors or abductor. Please release my children safely. They had nothing to do with any of this.
The father's plea that they had nothing to do with this immediately sparked suspicion, leading to intense scrutiny. Matters worsened when he failed a polygraph test regarding the children's disappearance, prompting police questioning. However, he was eventually released when detectives confirmed his alibi. With the children still missing, the mystery deepened. Meanwhile, the abductor took them to a remote cabin in the Lolo National Forest near St. Regis, Montana, more than 100 miles from their home. There, he subjected them to unspeakable horrors. He began by showing them a bloody hammer, setting the stage for months of psychological torment, as he claimed to have used it to kill their family members.
He grabbed the hammer. He said, "See this hammer? This is the hammer that I murdered your mom and your stepdad and your brother with." And he was like, "They're not alive and you're never going to see them again."
Following this, the man would continue to torture the kids daily, beating on Dylan the most and asking them to write letters to their dead relatives in hopes that they would come back.
He took more of his anger out on Dylan and was really mean to him.
He would abuse him and then make me watch. And then if I cried, then he would abuse him worse.
"Dear Dad, I miss you very much, and me and Dylan know what happened to Mom, Mark, and Slade, and we both feel very sorry for them. And we both miss you and Jesse and Vance, and we might see you guys again."
The torment escalated as the man subjected the children to alcohol, drugs, and terrifying accounts of his past crimes, including the Martinez murder and the 1996 killings of Samiejo White and Carmen Cubias. Meanwhile, investigators, baffled by the crime's passionate nature, sought public assistance. It was then that suspicion fell on Robert Luther, who had attended the family's barbecue just a day before. Luther owed the family money, and to make matters worse, he had a criminal record and had even fled town a few days after the murder. All eyes were on him, and the hunt was on. Meanwhile, in the clutches of their disturbed captor, Dylan began to lose hope of rescue.
That we would live or that we'd get out safe. I think after a certain amount of time, Dylan had started to lose hope that it was going to turn out good for him.
Sadly, Dylan was right, as one day, a few weeks into their kidnapping, the man would tell the kids that if they could catch a squirrel, they would go free. Determined to get home, Dylan caught the squirrel a few days later, and as he and his sister packed up for what they thought was their freedom, tragedy struck. Holding on to his sister, Dylan was shot in the back of the head twice with a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun.
I had just given him a hug, and so I was holding his hand, and I heard a loud bang, and then I felt my brother's hand slip from mine.
I couldn't even say anything. Like, I couldn't scream. I just didn't even know what to do.
As if that wasn't evil enough, the man, claiming Dylan's shooting was accidental, coerced Shasta into helping him dispose of her brother's body. Meanwhile, back at the investigation, Robert, upon learning he was wanted by police, promptly returned and cleared his name with a polygraph test, and as such, was released. So what happened next? What happened to Shasta? Well, after the shooting of Dylan, the man initially decided to kill Shasta, asking her to choose between choking and being shot like her brother. Shasta chose to be strangled, and as the man choked her with rope, she made one more play to survive.
Worked up enough breath to say, "Please don't, Jet."
Taken aback, the man fell to his knees, crying, as Jet was his nickname, which he had told the kids when he told them stories.
I noticed that when I would use that name with him, it would like soften a little bit, like it would soften him. And he's like, "What did you say?" He started crying and he was like, "I can't do this."
After this, Jet would grow to like Shasta and even ask her to be his daughter. Shasta, tired and aiming to escape, agreed and soon began to call him Dad. It was then that she would exploit his love for her to convince him to take her back to her hometown, claiming she wanted to show him all the places important to her. The man would agree, and this would be his downfall. As they drove to her hometown, they made a stop at a gas station and at a Denny's to get something to eat. It was there that someone would notice Shasta and tell the waiter at the restaurant, leading to a call that officers had been praying for.
I've got a little girl here with a tall gentleman, and she looks so much like that Shasta, and we're not sure. I don't know.
As the clock ticked, the man was ready to leave the restaurant. However, the people at Denny's were ready as people pointed near the door, and the waiter pretended like the cash register was broken. In the end, officers arrived, and a few questions later, the man was arrested, and for the first time in almost 2 months, Shasta could breathe with ease. Following his arrest, the man would be identified as 42-year-old Joseph Edward Duncan, a level 3 sex offender whose first case was back when he was 15 and molested a boy. Upon arrest, Duncan would stay silent, but luckily, Shasta was ready to talk as she told the officers everything he told her and everything that happened. But that wasn't all, because when officers searched his stolen car, they would find lots of video equipment and videos he took while exploit the kids. The videos were so horrific that the judge would later say,
"Met a more evil person than Joseph Duncan."
Joseph Duncan was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms for kidnapping charges before facing 10 federal charges, including those related to kidnapping resulting in death, sexual abuse, and firearm offenses. He pleaded guilty to all charges and was subsequently given 3 death sentences, specifically for the death of Dylan Groen. Despite undergoing brain surgery for glioblastoma in October 2020, Duncan refused further treatment and passed away on March 28, 2021, aged 58. Today, Shasta, now a mother, draws upon her own experiences to support others navigating their own traumas.
I forgive him, actually. If I don't forgive him, then he's going to control my life. I want him to know that I'm doing good things with my life too, so that he knows that he doesn't control my life and that he doesn't affect me anymore.
But what do you think about the case? Let us know in the comment section below. And of course, if you loved this story, why not like and subscribe to all the best true crime stories? Until next time, stay vigilant. Bye.